Welcome to Life After Divorce, Honest Conversation for Women podcast. I'm Fiona May. This podcast is for women navigating separation, divorce, or the rebuilding that comes after, especially if you're feeling uncertain, emotionally tied, or questioning who you are now. Divorce changes more than a relationship. It can change your confidence, your identity, and your sense of what the future holds, even when the direction was the right one. Here, we have honest, grounded conversations about what life after divorce really looks like, emotionally, practically, and personally. Some episodes are conversational between myself and my co-host, Sandra Lee. Others include inspiring women and trusted experts who understand this chapter of life deeply. This space isn't about fixing you because you're not broken. It's about support, clarity, and reminding you that you're not alone as you move forward. I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump in and start with today's episode. Today we have Manisha Budia, and Manisha is a financial planner, and we're going to talk finance for you girls. Welcome, Manisha.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Okay, let's get into it. What do women going through separation and divorce, what are a few of the things that they need to be aware of?
So absolutely, such a great question. Personally, having navigated this journey and so many women clients that I come across, getting on top of your money game is number one, because remember, there's no plan B, there's no plan C, there's no plan D. In pursuing your own economic empowerment and financial independence is quite key, because women are living longer. Our average life expectancy is around 85. We tend to generally be the main primary carers for the children as well as elderly family members as well down the track. So starting to have these conversations after such a significant crisis as a separation or a divorce is quite important, to put a robust financial strategy in place to help you get you through all these different phases of life. So statistically, when we look at this report that was done by Women's Wealth Report back in 2025, and Australian women hold, as an average, I'll read it out for you. So Australian women hold 40% less net wealth than men on average, a gap that begins in childhood and widens through work, caregiving, and retirement. The compounding impact of lower pay, unpaid care, and reduced superannuation leaves many women financially vulnerable later in life. So this is such an important part of your life overall planning, that getting on top of your financial empowerment is so key.
Yeah, look, I can't underestimate this impact that this is going to have on women's lives. We deal with mainly women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And for a lot of them, they didn't expect to be divorced. They didn't think that they were going to be in this situation. Many of them gone through a grey divorce. And we don't think, when we're younger girls getting married at 20 and 30, that do I need to have a plan in place if my marriage does not survive? I know that's so outside of how we historically would think before we got married, but everything's changing so quickly, and we used to get married and it used to be till death do us apart, but it's not anymore. And we don't want to go into our marriage with one foot in and one foot out. But I think we've got to change the way that we do things, and we've got to educate younger girls as well as the older women on how to be financially responsible and financially capable of managing their money, so they don't end up in retirement or not even being able to retire. And that's something that I know is scaring a lot of women.
Yeah, absolutely, Fiona. And you know what? We have to be very realistic and practical in life. And what I say through my all education sessions with every person I come across is, you have to look at your own financial independence or empowerment as a critical life survival skill. Because as much as we play all these multiple roles, whether you're in a relationship or you're not in a relationship, having your own independent financial planning strategy is very important, because life is really unpredictable. We are talking about separation and divorce, but untimely disability, disease in the family, anything could happen. So if you're fully relying on one person's income to financially support you as a family unit as well, whether in a relationship or not in a relationship, this needs to be part of a household risk mitigation conversation. And generally, and generally women tend to take the back foot only because they end up being the main carers for the children. And this is where I feel that gap widens.
I see a lot of women suffering after separation and divorce, and sometimes it's just the uncertainty around the financial situation and how are they going to survive? Can they survive? What do they need to be able to do? For many of them, they don't even have the confidence that they can upskill in their careers or get a higher paying job. And these things are terrifying, really, when you go from two incomes to one income, and then you suddenly are trying to, in our market, Western Australia is horrendous. I think every state's probably the same with the rent prices. How do you offer single income and pay rent, look after yourself and save for retirement off one income? It's very hard, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where the sooner you start on this trajectory of really having your money game as a priority, or your financial strategy as a priority, is really important, because I feel the way out to navigate through life crisis is you have to have this plan in place. So starting off with your cash flow, we're living in a very different world now post COVID. Like, the trajectory has completely shifted. Things are moving quite rapidly with technology, AI, and the cost of living crisis as well. You talk about inflation, you talk about interest rates going up. So all these factors or variables, they add into this equation, right? So I would say to all the ladies coming through, when I see them, is let's wipe the slate clean. And you have to work on your own emotional empowerment as well as financial empowerment. So these two things go hand in hand, because as much as I can do these strategies for you to help women get back on track financially, but when it comes down to your core belief systems and sustainability and discipline of this money management, this is where things can really fall apart. So hence the programs you offer, Fiona, you and Sandra, are quite impactful, because you're helping rewire these behaviors and to create the sustainable long-term changes. So understanding your cash flow and then looking at the future trajectory. So one example I'd love to share. So I use a lot of analogies in my conversations with my clients, and I say to them, imagine you're standing on the beach and your eyesight can only see up to the horizon, right? So physically, visibly, we can only see up to the horizon. So that's pretty much your financial future, maybe at best for the next 2 to 3 years. But when you partner up or collaborate with specialists in the finance industry or financial planners, through financial modeling, we can take you beyond that horizon. What does my financial trajectory look like in 20 years' time? Because this is all mathematics. If we know what your starting position is, we apply certain assumptions, we look at what does a happy, content, fulfilled life look like to you. We put a dollar value to it, and then we reverse engineer and we do these strategies. Working with a financial advisor on such an important trajectory, especially after your separation and divorce, is quite key, because I've had clients, once we've taken them beyond that horizon, they have walked away with these aha moments. They're like, oh my God, I was stressing for no reason. So can you imagine if we've taken that stress away from them, what does that future look like? Their whole parasympathetic system, the nervous system, is much calmer, and now they can make far much more better decisions as opposed to just being in this fight or flight mode.
I think for many ladies, they just get overwhelmed and then they just don't know where to start. And it's the same as anything. Do anything you want to do. At the end of the day,
Yes.
this is your
Yeah.
life, ladies that we're talking to on this podcast. This is your life, and you get to create whatever life that you want. What I want to encourage you to do is create the life that you actually want, not settle for the life that you've got. And you just not taking responsibility for where you're at right now. I know that you might not want to be here. I know that you might think it's unfair. I know all of that. But none of that is going to change the situation that you either from here draw the line in the sand and you step up, or you're just going to live an existence and whatever happens and you feel like you've got no control over it. And that keeps women in their head, overthinking, anxious, leads to disease. All of those things are brought on by the fact that we don't step up and take responsibility. Now, we encourage people to actually peel back those layers and to look at, who am I? What is my life? What do I actually want for myself? Then to encourage them to get that help and use experts, like use us. We're divorce recovery coaches. You're a financial planner. This is not about us making money off people. This is about helping you to be able to move forward quicker and get better results than you can ever do on your own, because we do this all day, every day. And that's what we're trying to get across here. This is about you living your very best life and you creating it. And the outcome, it might not be what you wanted it to be if you had this vision of what your marriage was going to look like and your retirement plans made. But I'm telling you, it can be better. My life is better. My future vision of what is I'm capable of and what I am now got in my control is better than it's ever been. So it might not ever be the same, but ladies, it can be better, can't it?
Absolutely, Fiona. And this is why having all these conversations, we go through life, we navigate through life, things will happen. We'll have to endure storms, we'll have to go through some crises. But I think the sooner everybody gets on this personal growth development journey, you sit down and you really identify what are the values, like what are the key important things in your life, and then reach out to people who can help you solve that puzzle of your life, just to help you become this full complete being who can then navigate and really have this amazing life experience. What you do, what I do, money is a very big part of this equation, because everything costs money. No one's going to come at your door and do stuff for you for free. I wish they did, but that's not how the world. We have to be realistic. The bills to be paid, and life experiences cost you money. So my message to all the women, or even people generally I come across, even with my clients, is money is a tool that gives you options and choices in life. That's what you're chasing. That's the why. And once you're very clear on the why, then the money will follow.
Yeah, I think some people say, I can't afford it. But I say to them, you can't afford not to do something about it.
Yes.
Because if you just put your head in the sand and you keep holding on to, I can't afford it, at an age right now that you can do something about it. What happens when we're another 10, 20, 30 years down the track and you literally don't have the capacity to be able to change very much or do very much? I'm scared for these women. I really am, because the government and the financial preparation and preparedness for the amount of people retiring in the next 20, 30 years, I don't believe it's there. The pensions that we've got in place today, they're not going to be sustainable, and there's going to be less people working. We're going to have the biggest transference of wealth in the world's history happening now, with the baby boomers retiring, dying, and their kids, my ladies and your clients, are going to inherit money, but without the right money blueprint, they're going to lose it. And then I'm worried down the track, how are they going to survive? If the government pension isn't what it is today, how are they going to survive? They're going to be 60, 70, 80s, 90s. They're not going to have the ability to go out and continue working. And that's what scares the wits out of me.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So, like I said, I use a lot of analogies in my conversations because I love telling stories, and I guess convey the messages via storytelling. So, one of the things I say to my clients is, you starting off today after going through the life crisis, you have to project your life. What does my life look like, not only now, but in the next 20, 30 years? Because we are on a finite timeline. That time will come when everything will end. So we have to reverse engineer and work backwards. What does this mean to me, and then how much do I need to actually live this happy, comfortable life. So recently I completed my aged care accreditation, Fiona, only because I've had clients for almost 10 years now, and some of them I can see it all unfolding, the care costs. We are aging every day. Our cells are not regenerating at that same speed and degree, right? So these are the cold hard facts of life where we need to start factoring and making provision for the care costs. So I apply a whole of life cycle approach to my wealth or financial planning process, because it's important, because I want to be able to, at best, I can give my clients this vision to say, hey, listen, between 75 and 85, this is what we need to prepare for. Between 65 and 75, this is what we need to prepare for. Now, can you imagine if grey divorces are happening at 50? If retirement plan or age is 65, we are living till 85. We have 20 years of our lifespan where there's no income coming in, earned income. So how will we financially support ourselves? And these are the conversations we need to be having now. So I say to my clients, imagine you plant a seed. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. You plant the seed today, but don't expect it to fruit. You cannot pitch a tent over there and just wait and just say, all right, where's my fruit? You have to let time do its thing. So now is the time to start having these conversations, understand your cash flow. How much are you earning? Do you have capacity to earn more? What are your expenses? Those are controllable. Some of your expenses are controllable. Can you control them? Superannuation, understand investing, understand compounding. So these are all different components to create a sustainable plan.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really want to encourage ladies to do is to heal from their past, and so they feel like they are totally aligned with them as a single empowered woman. This is actually owning who you are, loving yourself whole and complete, and knowing that you are worthy of creating a beautiful life, because that's going to give you the confidence to go out there and to look at, where do I want to live? Who do I want to have as my friends? What do I want to retire on? And where do I want to retire? And how much money do I need? How much is it to get into an aged care home today? About 680,000?
Yeah, minimum. And then on top of that, it's the care cost. And a lot of women I'm finding across, especially when they go through the property settlement, if they're not able to retain the family home, or suddenly they're having to buy out. I know situations whereby the women have actually had to take on more mortgage just to buy the other partner out, because the other partner decided not to, whatever the issues were going on, the full truthful disclosures were not there. And then it was just getting a very costly process. So retaining the family home with the hope that it gives the children and the female spouse a stable ground to continue living in, plus the future needs as well. Perth price housing market at the moment, it's so difficult to get into new homes. So it's such an important conversation to have around that as well.
And we work with one of our girls that we're coaching. She's a mortgage broker.
Mortgage broker, yeah.
Was telling us how hard it is for women in their 50s, 60s to get loans to be able to secure their finances. So I love the fact that she works predominantly in this space, because she works with us, and I know she's worked with you, to as a team, we put together the right ideas and a plan for people to be able to move forward so they can get loans. Because if you are in the workforce earning good money, then instead of, what I see a lot of ladies do is they go small. They play small after separation and divorce. They lose their confidence and they just bunker down in their fear. But that's no life. They just end up existing, not living. What I always encourage them to do is to actually step into their power, do their healing, and then open their lens of what is possible. And we've got women out there who have done amazing things, who have taken control of their finances, have bought an investment property, or they've added an Airbnb into their own house, or they've added a granny flat into their backyard. Different things like that. They've done side hustles, or they've got their own business, or they've moved from being an employee to an employer. So many things when we step into our power, and that means us taking on the fact that we are responsible for where we go from here. And women are amazing, aren't they? They're so strong and smart, and they're resourceful and resilient. Sometimes they just lose their way through separation and divorce.
Absolutely. And you know what, Fiona, I find this tribe, like I say to all my female clients coming through, surround yourself with a tribe of really good, successful, strong people, women especially, because then you can prosper far much more greater. So start creating, sit down and literally evaluate your life. How do you wish your life to be going forward? And then start putting names down of where are the gaps in my life, who do I need in my life to make it successful. So when it comes to all the courses that you and Sandra offer, like those are phenomenal. That's just helping them rewire themselves back up again so that they can enjoy this experience going forward. And then when it comes to the money side of things, having a good mortgage broker, having a good financial advisor in your tribe. So start creating this mastermind of a tribe of people that you can rely and fall back on. So that way the journey, I guess, it becomes you're making far much more strategic decisions as opposed to just plodding along in life.
Yeah. And it all starts with one step, ladies. The first thing we've got to do is believe that it's possible and start thinking in our head, do I really want to have a look at what my life's going to look like, instead of me just pretending that, or closing my eyes and just thinking that someone's going to come along and save me, or I will just survive. I think this is a fabulous time of our life to actually be able to take the time out to look at where I'm at, where I want to go to, and start closing that gap and looking at how old am I? What do I want to keep working? What age do I want to stop working? How much super have I got? What plans do I need to make with my super? So doing an inventory check-in on your super to make sure that you're getting as much out of it as possible, that it is getting a high return, and you can help them there be able to have a look at the funds they're in to make sure they're not paying too much in fees and getting a good return on investment. Then they need to have a look at things like, so what about my future? Where am I going to live? How much are retirement homes? Where would I live if I became incapacitated and couldn't be on my own? Then if that happened, what does that mean? What have I got to sell? What have I got left? Am I going to be able to afford that? I want you to all just go and find out from Centrelink how much the pension is, and then really do some figures to see if that is going to be enough for you to live on. I don't ever want to have to live on the pension. I never will ever get a pension because I've always set myself up never to be a pensioner. I just always wanted to be self-sufficient, and I want to, if I ever get sick or if any of my kids or family get sick, that I have options. That's why I've worked so hard, so I could set myself up for my retirement. And ladies, I think to not look is dangerous. We need to not be scared of looking into the things. We probably haven't even taken the time out to do that yet. What are some of the other things, Manisha, that you help ladies with after they've gone through their separation and divorce? What are some of the other things you help them with?
So I definitely have a conversation around the estate planning as well, because estate planning and life insurance is as well really important. As much as we help them with their wealth creation journey, because that's where pretty much the focus is, we also need a soft landing when it comes to if a life event happens, like untimely, say, disability or some cancer or heart attack or something that happens to them, illness or injury. So we need a soft cushion to land on, because remember, you are now the only income earner. And if you've got a mortgage and you've got financial commitments, it's really important to consider and bridge that gap. So we call it the risk mitigation plan. So I sit down, we work out a scenario to say, if something were to happen to you today, do you have enough assets or funds available to help you fund some of those gaps? This is where conversation around life insurances comes in. It's quite important. The second one is around estate planning as well, Fiona. So a lot of people I come across do not have wills and power of attorneys. Again, I went and studied. I'm a certified estate planning professional. So what that means is I'm not a lawyer. I cannot give legal advice, but I know enough now to be that conduit between myself and the estate lawyers with my clients, because sometimes when the separation divorce is happening, people don't realize they don't change the beneficiaries on their super policies or superannuation, and then blended family situation happens where they're not educated or informed enough all this wealth they're going to create, will that pass on to their nominated beneficiaries? So this is so again, I go back to my whole of life cycle planning. So these are all the areas of advice I touch base on to say we need to have a robust conversation around making sure your wills and your power of attorney is up to date, because the cost of not doing or having these documents in place is far much more greater than you just paying an upfront fee to get these documents in order. Because I have seen so many things go wrong when these simple documents have not been put in place.
Absolutely. And then, ladies, what Sandra and I are really big on as well is we want you to protect what you do have. We see ladies that do get payouts because of their separation and divorces. You need to protect that money. You need to safeguard it. Please be very careful what you do with that money. Do not waste it. You got it through your settlement, but if you waste that money, it is very hard at this age for you to rebuild and replace it. So from the get-go, you need to control your mind. You need to be able to understand in a longer term delayed gratification. I see so many women going on holidays and just buying new boobs, new Botox, new all these new bits and pieces, plus cups and holidays and everything else. But ladies, we have to think about who's going to look after me when I'm 70 or 80 and I need that money. So that's one thing that you really need to be careful of. So don't waste what you do get from your settlement. And the second thing is to make sure if you do start to date or if you do get into another relationship, you need to have your assets protected. And that can be through structures as well as agreements. So doing a binding financial agreement, what we used to call prenups, is essential. And having these conversations and being confident enough to have these conversations, that's where doing your healing and growth work with us, that's where it will come through, that you can confidently speak up. You can say, this is what you came into the relationship with, this is what I'm coming in. We need to have financial conversations up front so we're clear, but a conversation's not enough. It needs to be documented and an agreement. And you can't underestimate that, can we, Manisha?
Yeah, absolutely no. And this is a very important point you've raised, Fiona, because can you imagine going through this crisis, you've reached a settlement, and then you walk into another relationship? Having these conversations around your money arrangements and all that, it's really important, because what it does, especially for the women, is I come across quite a few situations whereby if there's an issue with money and lack of money and all that stuff, this is where abuse can thrive, or you get so controlled that you don't have any options left. You're again walking into another situation that you cannot control. So working on your own financial empowerment and independence is so important, because that gives you the choice to be able to walk away from a situation that's not actually adding value or enhancing your life. Especially for women, this is so important, because you can protect yourself from future coercion or abusive situation. You're opening up choices to be able to be so empowered, then you can walk out and say, no, this does not resonate with me, and I choose to walk away. But a lot of women stay in abusive situations because they're so scared. They feel scared that they will not make it out in life, out into the real world. So again, it's so important to work on your income earning capability, get on top of your finances, so you are not at anybody else's mercy when it comes to making those decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So other thing is, ladies, we always want you to be good role models to your girls and to your kids. And times have changed, and they have to be having different conversations now about how they're going to have his money, my money, and our money, and being able to budget and make financial decisions together, making sure that if one's working or the other one's not working, that it's accounted for up front, because we do not know these days how long marriages are going to last for, and how long we do not want to ourselves have to go through another separation or divorce. But and we want our kids to be prepared and all into their marriages and working on their marriages and building strong communication skills and being able to navigate through the conflicts and have healthy boundaries. That's going to set them up for success. But if something breaks down, then we don't want them losing what they've also are entitled to, the same as the boys. We're not man bashers, and we're not
No.
just jumping on the women's side. We just
Yeah.
want to be fair, but our audience who we talk
Yeah.
to are women going through separation and divorce,
Yeah.
and you're women, you're everybody, but
Yeah.
does have a special interest in women as well. So this is not about men and women. This is
Yeah.
about everybody protecting himself financially and being financially responsible for everything, for how much you spend, how much you earn, and what you do with your money. I think that's the bottom line, is those
Yeah.
three things are, they're going to equal your results that you get and how you're going to be able to retire.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, Fiona, one of the things I do is outside, in addition to everything else, is I reach out to schools on a pro bono basis and teach kids from year 9 onwards about money, because we're sending all these children to school, teaching them or telling them, figure out your income earning calling when you step into the real world. But nobody's actually giving these children tools to say, hey, listen, when you start earning money, this is what superannuation means. This is what tax means. This is what investing means, because time and good health are your two biggest assets. If you've got time on your side and good health on your side, you can absolutely steer your ship in the direction you want it to go to. So the sooner we start these conversations, like you said, be the role model. Yeah.
Yeah.
Role model for your children and for the next generation. Unless we put ourselves back together again, we wouldn't be able to pass that sustainable baton on to our children or the next generation. So this is such an important way of, when you look at life from that perspective, it's not just about dealing with crises that's happened to you. It's also about the other little children looking up to you, or your children looking up to you. How you deal with those crises sets an example to them as well. So with everything you do and with everything I do, when it comes to money conversations, have these conversations at home, because the more empowered and informed they are, when they walk into their relationships, they're not walking in, they won't be blindsided as such. They're making informed decisions. And I think when those conversations happen openly, it just makes, when it comes to relationships, it makes them more sustainable and open, because you've already had these conversations up front.
Yeah, I mean, ladies, that's a red flag. If you
Yeah.
cannot discuss finances
Yes.
and you're afraid to do that up front with a new partner as you're getting to know each other in your courting stage, if you're too scared to have financial conversations, then you're not ready to date. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that, because you are going to end up in a situation that you're not going to have control over.
Yeah.
So you need to be not afraid of having those conversations and being able to state your case and how you feel and how he feels and what his opinions are around finances. That's his right to have his opinions, and
Yeah.
you need to know what they are. You're the one who gets to decide if you want to be in relationship with that person, and the person you bring into your life is your responsibility. If you're afraid to have those conversations, that should be a red flag for you.
Yeah.
You are not ready to date. And I'd encourage you, if that's the case, to actually get in contact with us and do your own healing and growth work, so you actually are whole and complete.
Yeah.
And you feel confident to make decisions that are going to shape the rest of your life. I just want to end on a story, and we have hundreds of these stories, but
Yeah.
one of our girls went through a divorce. She was in her 50s, and she was so angry because he left her, had an affair, had another family, and she felt totally out of control in that she didn't know what her future was going to look like. She had never taken any of the financial decisions or made any of the
Yeah.
financial decisions. He had run all the house expenses, income, expenditure, everything. He had done all of that and paid all the bills. So she
Yeah.
felt like she didn't even know where to start. So we were working with her at the time, and we got her to start doing a budgeting course and learning how to budget,
Yeah.
how to bring money in, how to allocate it, how to save some. And then we started helping her look outside the square of how she could earn extra money. And we put her to some side gigs, and she was able to start generating. First, it was $300 a week, then it turned to $600, then it was over $1,000 a week that she
Wow.
could create as a side hustle towards her job. Now, the next best thing was when she grew her confidence and she really started to believe in herself and know she started to be able to breathe again because she was so fearful. Then she went for a higher job, a new promotion, and she got that. She got an extra $20,000 or $30,000 salary because she was prepared to put herself out there and do that. And then she consistently kept showing up and winning sales awards. So every month that she was achieving, she was actually getting recognized as well. Now she's gone on, and it's been 3 or 4 years, and we check in with her regularly because she's one of our mentors in our groups. She's now married to a bloke that she met after her separation and divorce. She's financially only got a very small mortgage. She's got 2 income sources coming from properties that she created. She's got a higher salary, and she is set to retire next year financially free. Now, that's from only 4 or 5 years ago, someone who had no idea and was so angry and scared about what her future looked like. But she just stepped up and she took action. She did everything we told her to do. And now she's actually looking forward to this amazing retirement that she never ever would have been able to have if she hadn't have just regrouped and trusted herself that she can get through. And you see it all the time too, don't you?
Yeah, oh, that's such a beautiful story, Fiona. And yeah, I see this multiple times. And having, you know what, when I sit back and think about all this, it's everything seems fearful. We are scared, and all this, it's too overwhelming to navigate such a significant life crisis. But then what I've come to realize, when you give yourself that space to overcome whatever's happened, but then have that forward looking mindset, you will believe how better your life will be, both financially, emotionally, spiritually, in every aspect, because you no longer are having to deal with that past, or no longer having to carry that baggage forward. But it's a decision that person needs to make. Which direction do you choose to go? Either you can dwell in the past, or you can be forward looking and say, all right, this has happened, that's fine, but then what do I want my life to look like at the next phase of life? So yeah, I cannot believe the amount of, and how quickly all these women I come across are literally financially becoming so abundant because they choose to do this work. It's an active choice they make, and then it's the consistency of implementing these choices day in, day out. And I can see this all the time. Within 7, 8 years, they've absolutely turned the ship around, and they're living their best life.
Yeah. So, ladies, regardless where you're at and what you've been through, we want to encourage you to draw that line in the sand. Choose you. And don't be afraid to look forward. A lot of ladies, when I ask them, what do you want? What's your dreams? They've given up dreaming. We know that because they don't think that it's possible. But that's why we start and we deal with the core underlying issues, the lack of confidence, the lack of self-esteem, the lack of value in who they think they are and what they think they're worth. If we start at that place, that sets the foundation, and then we've got all these other tools that we can add on to it that you can actually create an amazing life. And I believe anybody can do it. So if you want to be an action taker, just reach out to me, Manisha, other girls in our network. We're here to support you, and we want to see you succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Now, all good, Fiona. I think you do. This was such an amazing open conversation. And I wish, and I'm really hoping that it really resonates with a lot of women, because I always believe the power to change your trajectory lies within you. It's a matter of choice. You're only one choice away from living your desired life. Literally one choice away.
Yeah. And I am financially successful. You're financially successful. You're learning off people that have done it. We walk the talk, we do it every day. And that's why we're so confident, because we've done it for ourselves and we have rebuilt, that we can help other people do the same. So, ladies, if you're action takers and you want to rebuild, even if you don't know what the future potentially could look like, then we're here help you open those lenses and create new opportunities and possibilities. So just reach out to us. So thank you for spending time with us today. I know conversations like this can sometimes stir up emotion. So if something resonated with you, just take a moment to be gentle with yourself. Life after divorce can often feel isolating, but you don't have to do this alone. So if you would like some extra support or connection or guidance, you can learn more about our coaching programs, our 3-day events, and our community at womenontransition.com. And if this episode was helpful, you're more than welcome to subscribe, share it with another woman who might need it, or leave us a positive review. It all helps to make more women be able to find our space. So until next time, remember, you're not broken. This chapter doesn't have to define you. It's simply part of your becoming. See you next time.